Now we're going to look at core area 2, which is resource management and consumer studies. Unit 1 is family resource management and the components of management. Our learning outcomes for this unit is the purpose of family resource management, types of resource management systems, the family as a managerial unit, the components of management, the decision-making process, and factors that affect management. Here are some sample exam questions of what has come up in higher level Leaving Cert to date. You can pause this presentation and have a look at it. So what is family resource management? Family resource management is a system that helps the family to plan and achieve goals by using their resources wisely. Resources include time, skills, money, knowledge, etc. The purpose of family resource management. Why do we need it? Well, firstly, it improves the quality of family life. For example, it ensures that bills are paid, which will reduce stress levels and worry within the family. It would help individuals and family members achieve their goals. So, for example, a family might have a goal to go on holiday. So by using the family resource management system, they may achieve their goal. It can minimize waste by making full use of available resources, such as reducing food and money waste, by planning meals and shopping trips. And it can allow for unexpected changes in circumstances. For example, if someone loses a job or a car breaks. What are the types of resource management systems? We have open systems and closed systems of management. With open systems, the family avails of other systems outside of their own boundaries. For example, children going to government schools or going to the local GP. The majority of families fit into this system. A closed system is where all activities occur within the system itself, within the family boundaries itself. An Amish community is an example who uses this system, as they function by living self-sufficiently and don't avail of anything outside of their own system. The family as a managerial unit. So efficient family resource management contributes to the smooth running of a household. The areas of family life that can be managed include managing of household finances. For example, creating a plan for spending to meet financial goals. Cleaning, organising a cleaning rota with specific jobs for each family member. And meal planning, organising a weekly meal plan and shopping list. The last one would be, for example, school activity schedule, so organising lifts and drop-offs to school or to extracurricular activities like swimming or drama. Now we look at the components of management. So the components of management, they're made up of inputs, throughputs and outputs. Inputs is the first area. And it is anything that's brought to the management system. Inputs are made up of demands and resources. The demands include our needs, wants, goals and values, and resources include time, skills, environmental resources and material resources. Our demands in detail. So needs, the basic requirements for survival. Our physical needs would be water, basic nutrition, shelter and clothing. Emotional needs include security, support and love. Our wants are the specific things that a person desires, but they can survive without them. For example, designer clothes or holidays abroad. And then our goals are something that a person would work towards achieving. We can have short-term goals, medium-term goals and long-term goals. A person's values is their unique belief about what is important and worthwhile to them. An example of someone's values would be if they're vegetarian because they don't believe in the killing of animals. The resources then. Time. Individuals need time in order to plan and carry out tasks. Time needs to be managed wisely to make most of it. Human skills, all of the things a person can offer to the management system. Environmental things would be the physical resources that we use, like space. And our material resources would be the money and equipment that we may use to achieve a task. The second phase of the components of management are throughputs. Throughputs is the active or doing stage. They involve planning, organising, and implementing. So let's look at planning in a little more detail. So planning would start with deciding on the goal, to identify the goal. What do you hope to achieve? Then you would collect all relevant information. So do your research and look at all of the different possibilities of information. You consider the alternatives. So there may be different ways to achieve your goal. So you look at all these different ways, and then you look at the consequences of each of those alternatives. What are the positives and negatives of each? Then you would make a decision and you design a logical plan. We step into organising then. So when we organise, the first thing that you need to do would be to delegate. You appoint an appropriate person to deal with the task, if it's a group goal. And then you allocate available resources. You divide out your money available and equipment, for example. The final area of throughputs is implementing. This is where we put the plan into action. You begin to implement the steps of the plan in a logical order, and then you take control of the plan. Control of the plan is important to improve its effectiveness. It's very important with implementation that you ensure flexibility. So if there's an issue, if something goes wrong, how can you actually do something different to still achieve your aim? The final stage of the components of management are outputs. These are the end result of inputs and throughputs. They are evaluated under goals, needs and wants, resources, changes in values, and feedback. So let's look at outputs in a little bit more detail. Goals, have they been reached? Have the individuals or family achieved what they had set out to do? Were needs and wants met? Did the family have a nutritious meal, for example? Have the wants been satisfied? Did the family go on holidays? Were resources such as money used to maximum effect, or were any resources wasted? Did values change? For example, you might save for a car that might have been of value before you might have had children, and then a family holiday may have been more valuable for your life, your family life, at a later stage. Satisfaction. Was the outcome satisfactory? Was anyone stressed or under pressure in order to achieve the aim or the goal? And feedback is the most important part of the outcome process. This is where we would recognise where improvements can be made for future. So next we look at the decision-making process. The decision-making process is where we would decide between two or more options when working towards achieving a goal. So the first step is to define your goal or your decision. You would collect relevant information, consider the alternatives and consequences of each alternative, make your decision, put your plan into place, implement the plan, and then you would evaluate and use feedback for when you make similar decisions in the future. So when you look at those points, they're quite similar to the planning stage in your throughputs of the components of management. Our next step to look at is communication. Communication is a two-way process that involves sharing of ideas, information, and emotions. It's needed to understand the values of each family member, to identify each family member's goals, to make family decisions together. By doing so, each family member feels that they're listened to and a valuable part of the family, and to evaluate the management system in place. And so we finally look at the factors that affect management. Firstly would be employment patterns, whether the person is in a single income family or dual income families. Obviously those in single income will have less money to spend, but dual income families will have more money but less time because both parents are working. Management of dual roles. So in a family where the person is the homemaker and the worker will have less family time to spend doing family jobs. Socioeconomic status. Our socioeconomic status is defined mainly by whether you are employed and what employment you actually are in, whether you're on a high pay, medium pay or low pay. So priorities between different families of different socioeconomic status. People with lower socioeconomic status, so possibly employed or on a very low wage, may prioritize meeting needs before their wants, whereas families with a higher socioeconomic status often have an income left over after the basic needs have been met and they can spend this on their wants. Next would be the stages in the family life cycle. For example, arrival of children. Money and time can no longer all be spent on the parents' wants, as the children will need things now and they become a priority. The number of children in the family also affects management. The more family members, the more money and the more time is required to manage that family. Or the age of the children. Younger children often cost more because of childcare and the attention that they require. Fifth point then will be the values and standards. A family's values and standards will influence their choices, thereby affecting management systems. For example, some families' concern would be for animal welfare, and that would influence their decision then maybe to buy free-range eggs or products that aren't tested on animals. And finally, your culture. Cultural aspects can affect family management due to the impact of culture on areas like diet and the role of women. For example, Jewish people keeping kosher must refrain from eating pork. Women are forbidden from driving in Saudi Arabia, and changes in Irish women's work practices also affect management systems. In the past, Irish women had few opportunities for working outside the home, whereas now it is common for women to have careers. Before I finish this unit, I would like to say that the components of management, a sample case study has been also put up on YouTube that you can look through, where it goes down through the inputs, throughputs, wanputs with a specific example, so it may help you understand the process. That's the end of Unit 1.